humanity is sunk into the depth, so pathetic, so rooted in despair and dishonesty and mockery, that I firmly believe there is no return. The people of the earth are steeped and are stewing in an oblivion of ignorance, where you can demonstrate something in their face, and no matter how logical or verifiable that it is, someone in a white lab coat or sitting at a desk with numerous diplomas on the wall with little blue or gold ribbons affixed to them can say whatever they want, and people, the listeners, their audience, will instantaneously disregard logic and everything that is verifiable to again and always, without cease, instantaneously believe everything these liars tell them. Now, it can be demonstrated for a fact. We know the behavior of oxygen and gas on the earth and what will happen when it comes into contact with a vacuum or vacuum chamber. And mind you, the vacuum chambers we make are puny compared to what they tell us outer space is. They say the Earth is covered in 5 layers of gas, oxygen, and surrounds the outside surface of a giant spinning faster than a bullet at the equator spherical water world space ball, and that it all exists, operates, surrounded by an infinite vacuum universe billions of light years across. Now, we've reviewed the enormity of a trillion anything, and I will say it again briefly, 1,000,000,000,000 seconds. You can Google this. 1,000,000,000,000 seconds would take. You couldn't count to that in your lifetime. You could live to be 200 years old, and you could never count to 1,000,000,000,000 seconds. It would take over 30,000 plus years to expire. 1,000,000,000 seconds. Now we have 1,000,000,000,000 miles, which is only but a grain of sand in the size and distance that they say the Earth exists in. They say the universe is over 30 billion light years away and across. The 1 light year is almost 6 trillion miles. Okay, so each light year, 6 trillion miles, they say that the observable universe is over 30 billion light years across, and that the Earth covered in gas and oxygen, covered in trillions of gallons of water in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, can exist in harmony within and surrounded by an infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across. And no matter how much it is demonstrated to prove the behavior of gas and oxygen and what occurs when it comes into contact with the puny vacuums we can make on Earth, the gas and oxygen always and immediately, instantaneously fill the vacuum. It is regardless of what is going on. I can preach till I'm blue in the face that the vacuum sucks it in. And you people can say, no, it's the pressure itself. It's the air going in, directed to go in by 14.7 psi. Don't you understand that regardless of what body is doing what, whether it's the vacuum or the gas and oxygen, the vacuum sucking it in or the gas and oxygen going in, that the result, the bottom line, is that the gas and oxygen will fill the vacuum. And these little vacuum chambers we make are nothing compared to an infinite vacuum universe 30 billion light years wide, across, length, width, height. Do you understand how enormous a vacuum like that would be? When I told you a trillion seconds would take over 30,000 years to count. Now we're dealing with 1 trillion miles. That is an impossibility. 1 light year is almost 6 trillion miles. Do you know how long? If you could equate, I could equate 1 second with 1 inch. And you can figure out how many inches are in a mile. And then times that times 6 trillion. For 6 trillion miles, 1 light year. Billions of light years, over 30 billion light years across. And what these people will regurgitate is that the force or occurrence of gravity can overturn and overrule an infinite vacuum universe over 30 billion light years across. But did you know gravity is not a fact? It is a theory. Did you know how long it's been a theory? It has been a theory for over, according to these people, 500 years it's been a theory. Now, people will wave their gravimeters, reference Cavendish, show you things falling down, and regardless of all of that so-called evidence, in review of all that evidence that they will regurgitate with no end, Cavendish, gravimeters, things falling down. When you ask Google, what don't we know about gravity? In respect to all those things I mentioned that will be hurled at you, when you ask Google, what don't we know about gravity? However, if we are to be honest, and I emphasize that word if, because they are not always honest, but however, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I don't care if they're going to contradict themselves and say we only know how it behaves. That is ridiculous and illogical and contradictory. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I will tell you why. You will get that answer if you go to Google and type in, what don't we know about gravity? However, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I will be brave enough, I will employ my personal logic and character to answer that for you. The fact is, gravity is not a fact. It is a 500-year-old theory, and it remains a theory because gravity itself, not what they say it's doing, not how they say it behaves, or what it affects, gravity itself has never been directly detected on the Earth via any known means of propagation. Propagation of current, like electricity, propagation of field, like magnetism. No wave, no beam, no ray, no particle, nothing whatsoever. And that is because of this next fact. For a person, place, or thing to be real, it must possess presence and substance of itself. Gravity itself hasn't one iota, smithereen, or scintilla of directly detectable presence and substance of itself. This is required to interact, engage, or engulf matter, to pull it, curve it, or hold it back towards the center of a giant ball. Gravity is a theory, and it will always remain a theory, and you can throw gravimeters at me and Cavendish. These things allegedly measure the effects and results of gravity. They do not directly detect gravity itself. And that can be demonstrated. All you have to do is Google it, and your masters will admit that. This is what you think. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. So you're going to tell me that this force or occurrence can hold, pull, or curve all the gas and oxygen on the outside surface of the Earth. It can overturn or overrule an infinite vacuum universe billions of light years across. When on Earth we see how oxygen and gas behave in the presence or proximity of a vacuum, the puny vacuums we make, the gas and oxygen instantaneously, faster than you instantaneously believe these people's lies, flow into that vacuum. Now we are told that the infinite universe vacuum is 35 or over 30 billion light years wide. That is over 30 billion light years worth of available volume that any gas or oxygen or any substance could fill. But for some reason it doesn't, because they tell us it doesn't, and we instantaneously believe it, even when it contradicts observable, demonstrable reality. Now, if you want to make a comment on this video, I hope that it reflects a sight that can show gas and oxygen being able to maintain its integrity directly next to a vacuum with no barrier, i.e., no divider, nothing to divide it from the vacuum. You can't do that. You can't do that. So you must come with a whole bunch of other malarkey. Why do things fall? Why do you think they fall? If a lighter falls to the ground, it is because the lighter is more dense than its surrounding air, so it falls through it until it meets something that can support it, like your hand or the floor or the ground. This is remedial. There's no way that the Earth, regardless of shape, could be within and surrounded by an infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across. It contradicts observable reality that gas and oxygen will immediately fill any vacuum that is in their vicinity. Now, how are you going to tell me something else can happen on a much larger scale? When it comes to a larger scale, the problem becomes that much larger. How can the Earth be covered in 5 layers of different gases and oxygen right next to an infinite vacuum universe billions of light years in size? Why won't the gas and oxygen fill the available volume that is over 30 billion light years wide? Because of gravity? Do you need to rewind this and see where I state that gravity is a theory? It is not a fact. It is a theory. It's been a theory for 500 plus years. And it remains a theory because it has never been directly detected itself. And I explain why it can never be directly detected itself. Because it has no presence and substance of itself, no independent presence or substance to detect. And that is why when you Google what don't we know about gravity, they have to say, which they will never say outright, you have to ask, what don't we know about gravity? And they are forced to reply, however, if we are to be honest, I emphasize that word if, that is there for a reason, for people with a higher IQ. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way, yet they go and ascribe it to trillions of acts every second. It pulls down every blade of grass, grain of sand, particle of dirt, person, place, and thing, trillions of gallons of water. And do you understand how illogical that is to say that gravity does all that? But, however, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. Think about it. Think about what that means, what they are saying. How and why could they say that? The reason is that gravity is a theory. It's been a theory for a very long time. And gravity itself has never been directly detected through current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle. Now, electricity and magnetism don't do 1% combined. If you turned on every electrical device in the world, that would be billions of electrical devices on at the same time. And if you threw every magnet and way to produce magnetic field with magnets and iron shavings and a piece of paper in the middle, all that would not add up to 1% of what they say gravity does every second, pulling an alleged almost 7 billion people, keeping them on a spinning ball outside surface, every particle of dirt, grain of sand, blade of grass, person, place, and trillions of gallons of water. Yet they don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. It's because it's never been directly detected for them to isolate and study. It can't be isolated itself because there's no presence and substance of current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle. Now don't tell me that electricity or gravity has never been directly detected, because that's a lie. That's electricity per current. And if you want to go in your kitchen and look on your refrigerator, maybe, hopefully, kind of, sort of, you might have a magnet there. And that is the direct detection in varying sizes of magnets, magnetic field. And magnetic field can be demonstrated. Okay, just like I said, with iron shavings, a piece of paper, and I believe a horseshoe magnet. Yet gravity, that has so much more responsibility, is missing in action, they have to say. However, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And that is illogical to then turn around and say it does all these things when you've never directly detected it itself. Can't you people understand that we are being led astray? Can't you understand how gas and oxygen react in the presence, vicinity of a vacuum? They go and fill the vacuum. I have other videos that prove vacuums suck. But either way, the bottom line, the end result is the same. The gas and oxygen cannot remain in a fixed place in the presence of a vacuum, and that is provable. So you think that the 5 layers of gas and oxygen they say are surrounding the Earth with curving oxygen, The only way you can demonstrate curving oxygen is inside a balloon or contained environment. Air does not curve the way they show it on a globe or their animations of outer space with a big blue ball in it. There is no logical and demonstrable way for you to continue to believe that the earth could be covered in gas and oxygen within and surrounded by an infinite vacuum universe 30 billion light years across. It would relieve the earth of all its gas and oxygen, and no theoretical force or occurrence could stop that. Now, you can believe what you want to believe. That's because you don't want to go against the flow. Your independent character has been drilled out of you. You have no logic. Your method of intelligence is to go to Google, Wikipedia, or Nova, or Gaia Stream, and all this garbage, and instantaneously believe everything they say without realizing since kindergarten you have been programmed to demonstrate and exhibit an implicit trust in these people. And that's why you instantaneously believe everything they tell you. And then they introduce math to explain away the things we can't see or feel. I don't understand why people cannot realize that. So, in conclusion, we are lied to, and they have a bottomless pit bag full of excuses to throw at you. Math, gravity, and everything that we cannot demonstrate. One theory after another to get you to believe in a false reality, and that furthers atheism. You people really need to wake up.